Welcome back, Mere Mortalites, to another edition of the Mere Mortals Meanderings. We are outside once again. This is deep conversations with a lighthearted touch, definitely focusing on the lighthearted touch. You got Juan over here today.
Yeah, Kyron on this side of the mic.
And in Meanderings today, look, first of all, I'm going to be chatting about quite a few pieces that happened, or at least thoughts from my Tasmania holiday.
Tassie.
So, we would have heard it in our previous musings conversation, but I headed off to Tasmania, which is down south. For those uninitiated, it's basically a little island of Australia on the south side. Quite cold, quite hilly,
Very
lots
cold.
of different things to see. But I wanted to, I guess, summarize a couple of things that were of highlight, I guess, to share to people who might not know about it. I certainly didn't know of a couple of these things, and a couple of the things that I experienced. I was like, oh, that was quite interesting. So I'll talk about them. I'll get into it right now.
Please do.
First one is, so I have the very fortuitous availability of a nice car, of a new car, a car that has a reverse camera, a car that has
Here in Brisbane.
Yeah, I've got a reverse camera in my car. I've got it got the heads-up display for speedometer and all this sort of stuff. Wonderful. We borrowed a car when we were down in Tasmania, and it was a 2016 or 2015, I believe, model, a Hyundai Accent Sport. And it was one of those cars that didn't have a reverse camera. It was automatic, but it didn't have all the thrills and the frills that I have in cars of today. Or at least I haven't driven one of these cars for a long time. And I went, yeah, it's not too bad at its beginning.
Car.
But I really did despise, after a while, not having a reverse camera.
Oh, really?
I think the difference between having a reverse camera and not having a reverse camera, man, I just went, wow, this is ridiculous.
In terms of neck pain, in terms of...
No, not a neck pain, but...
assurances of not running over
children.
children.
Yeah, the assurance. I think the security, the difference between having a reverse camera and not, like, it is overwhelming. Like, when you really drive around with a car with that availability, I go, man, this is actually insanely different. To the point where I believe the lady who backed into my car didn't have a reverse camera, I believe. And
This is recently.
Yeah. And I go, man, I actually think without a reverse camera, I would have done the same thing too. Because with it being dark and that, there's a high likelihood of, getting just hit because you don't see things. And I was in a little tiny car. So that to me, I was like, whoa, I didn't realize this about it. So perhaps... in the future, as Karen perhaps gets himself either a reverse camera or... Does a current car have a reverse camera? No. Okay. So maybe one day in the future...
Doesn't have a screen.
You'll see a reverse camera and it might be like, whoa, this is... I don't think it's one of those where having it is unreal. It's then when you then go without it that it's like, oh man, that's an overwhelming difference.
Yeah, it's, downgrading phone is a hard thing to do. My dad's got a Stinger, a Kia Stinger, and in that it's got... I guess like 360 cameras underneath the side mirrors, and so it can give a bird's eye view of the car and all the stuff around it in certain locations, like if you're stopped or idling or something like that. So I don't know if he uses that when it comes up, but sorts of,
it makes me wonder. I mean, for anyone listening, and if you've got such a car, such a privilege to have a reverse camera. You might be taking it for granted. If you've used it for a while and you get used to it, it's a real big difference to not having it. So I was like, man, that was a big thing. But look, otherwise, Tasmania, a couple of key call-outs for people if you decide to go down there, if you ever travel to Australia or you're Australian. Go to the Mona Museum in Hobart.
Museum of National Art?
No. It stands for something else. Or maybe it is. I don't know. You want to quickly Google while I talk about it? But Mona is actually owned by... I was trying to figure this out. It was like a billionaire or something like that. A billionaire who made all his money through like lottery and gaming, racketeering or something like that. But it just got all sorts of weird and wonderful things within this museum. Things like you can go and check out, and I might send you a couple of images so you can throw up.
Sure.
Lots of vaginas up on the wall, like dried up vaginas
Oh,
up
yes.
on the wall.
Okay, yeah. I do want to... man, we're going to get banned off YouTube for some of these images.
Good that we are. So there's a few of those. There's to give you a couple of ideas.
Museum of Old and New Art.
There you go. So the Museum of Old and New Art, which was, I believe that was the name of that was the original museum, which then was bought out by Graham and then continued to be built out right? And this place is huge.
Created by David Walsh. Does that name sound familiar?
Oh, David Walsh. Okay, not Graham. David Walsh. So, and you can go and look up David Walsh, because I was interested in being like, who's this David Walsh dude? And just like, I looked up in the background and I was like, what the hell?
Okay. Yeah.
In any case, you get to this museum, and it's really like quite not much when you get there. You see it and you're like, oh, there's only like 2 buildings. There's a particular room where you can have like a bit of an acoustic sounding effect to it. But beyond that, you're like, oh, this is not big. Dude, the thing goes like 80 or 100 meters deep underground, has like multiple rooms. It took us 4 or 5 hours to walk through all the whole things. It was, I'm going to call it right now, the best museum I've ever been to.
Oh,
easily.
Nice.
And I've been to like a lot of museums. This is easily the best museum I've ever been to. Not even at the fact that the pieces of art were that great. Like, it wasn't like that. It was just the experience, the environment, the ambience. It was just awesome. I was like, this was really cool.
I think you could maybe even judge this just by like the website that I just went on here. So mona.net.au. And if you go to the About section, it says Mona is a museum in Hobart, Tasmania, created by David Walsh to help him, in his words, that's bracket, bang above his weight. Yep. So you can see he's already got like a little bit of cheekiness.
Oh, and the whole Mona itself has like all these signs and stuff, which is playful. Like, it's fun. Like, it just seems like a fun museum.
Yeah. Anything we say to describe Mona will date quickly, given we are constantly changing our mind about what Mona is. Possibilities include David's fitness marker. Think of him as a peacock and his paintings as feathers. SeaWorld with cocktails and a few works of quite good but not amazing Australian modernism. A place to tie the knot and push up the daisies. Purveyor of hot chippies, amongst other culinary delights. Somewhere people can come to say, not sure about the art, but the architecture is amazing. Nice spot to listen to some live music. A really elaborate marketing stunt. A really expensive kitchen garden.
Exactly. So
yeah, that's a cheeky. I like that.
Here's a couple of photos as well that I'll show you. Like, instead of a simple, wash your hands or whatever, for yourself. Like, for COVID sort of style, it's like a squirt yourself thing. You also there's a couple of vineyards around the area. And so the actual vineyards themselves, there was a couple of signs.
So that was from the museum.
Yeah, so there was a couple of signs which were like pretty much stay away, you filthy humans. So it was fun. Like, it was really fun. What I really enjoyed about it, though, there was a particular, so it might not be always there. This seemed to be like a specific thing, which was like, what was it called? It was the confessionary. It was like a confessionary sort of space.
Okay.
And you had to actually book in, go away, and they have a really smart app. So they have no, like a traditional museum where you might have a plaque that says, oh, here's the detail about this and here's the detail about that. They have none of that. They utilize fully by app, where whenever you are in the location, it'll be like by distance, you can pull up the app and read what the thing is about, which was quite smart. But they let you book in for this particular session. And I was like, okay, cool, we want to do this, let's try this out. So we went away, we like virtually lined up, went back into it. And basically the premise of this thing was, you went into like this little spiral into the center of a cone, which was acoustically set up so nobody could hear you. Absolutely nobody. You went into like this little pod, a little bit bigger than like yourself, and you'd stand there and you talk. And you'd basically be like, hello. And
can you hear it?
Now, so you'd be talking, right? And someone would speak back to you. A random person.
Okay.
Right? A random person. Now, I got a 7-year-old kid. So I was like, hello?
So this is an automated 7-year-old kid?
You'll find out. So, I spoke and it was like a 7-year-old kid. They're like, hello, who are you? And I was like, oh, it's odd. So I was kind of talking to him a little bit. I made a little bit of a joke. I think he said like, oh, I'm 7 years old. And so I was like, I want to play with his mind. So I was like, I can tell it was a real human person. So I was like, oh, yeah, I like the shirt you're wearing. And he was like, oh, where are you seeing me from? Where are you looking from? Right? So anyways, when you get out, just before you go in, is when you find out that it's basically a cone built from like the bottom of this museum all the way back out to the top of the museum. So when you first come in, there's a humongous cone, like metal cone. And if you get close enough into the center of it, you can actually hear people talking. That's how you actually communicate. So, afterwards, I ended up like sticking my head into the cone when I was back up to start talking to people. And I had this, I'll probably end up, I won't be able to play through here, but we might be able to overlay it perhaps with the video, but it was me basically talking to someone, just to give you an example. If not, that's fine.
Yeah.
But yeah, so you're able to like talk to people. And so afterwards, it was kind of cool to, once you go in there, I went back out and I was like the person who was, those who were down the bottom, they were doing their confessions or talking about something, and I was at the top, explaining to them things, and I just started getting into like mere mortal style questions. That I'd be like, where are you from? And they'd be like, we're from New South Wales, and I'd be like, that's a shame. Yeah, that's a shame. You wanted to be in Queensland, but I'd be like, what's your deepest desires? What do you most wish of life, and that sort of stuff. So it was fun. It was really. Cool. I ended up staying there for a good like 20 minutes. So, look, I just cannot stress enough how fun Mona was. It was really, really good fun, and it's free for Tassie people. So like, if you live in Tasmania and you haven't gone, man, absolutely go. So look, that's my first call out, I guess, of Tasmania. Apart from that, Hobart was pretty good. I ended up enjoying myself in 2 locations. Mount Wellington, which is sort of the top peak that overlooks Hobart. We didn't see shit because we were above the clouds. And then Cradle Mountain. And at both locations, it was 2 degrees and 1 degree, respectively. And I got a nice, joyous photo of me, no shirt, just arms up in the air, just kind of like in the clouds and in the snow. I don't know, just felt good. Felt fun to do that. But I felt cold during it. But for some reason, and I wanted to expand on this one.
Well, just before that, the reason he felt cold was he went out in a shirt.
Oh, correct. No, but what I was going to say was, it was...
Everyone else was rugged up.
Everyone was... it was rugged up. It was like 2-3 degrees. Everyone was like, ooh, okay. The signs being like, warning, ice on the road. And I'm like, just wearing a shirt. But weirdly enough, it's probably because I had switched my mind on to be a little bit more resilient. And so walking around with a shirt, but I had like a switch on to be like, okay, let's be resilient. It didn't feel too bad. Like, it was cold, but it wasn't like I was complaining about it. I felt good about it. Like I was wanting to do that. And I saw the comparison of just another day that we were there where it might have been like 11 degrees and I was wearing a jumper and I was like, oh, it's cold. Like I feel feeble, I guess, in comparison, which I guess gave me a little bit of a surprise. And I was like, oh, when I want to, I can choose to really be like, oh, this is absolutely not bad at all. And that would apply if I'm at home feeling cold or feeling warm, and I could just be like, actually, if I really want to switch my resiliency on in this, then it just doesn't, like, it's absolutely no factor. I guess it helped demonstrate to me how much of it all is just in you, I guess, mentally letting it affect you in that way, as opposed to it really being just like out of your control. Or I guess, maybe not said another way, I just saw how much more control I can have around those things.
Yeah, and I think it might seem at times where it's, you kind of have to build up to that, I think. You have to put in the groundwork of doing a Kokoda level trek to really be able to start to appreciate, like, oh, okay, this is really nothing compared to something I have experienced before. Similar for me, even just yesterday, I was out in South Bank and then I was going to meet my family in the city. And I was just like, it's easier if I just have a shower at the South Bank, like kind of showers near the pool area, and then just wander in from there. Now, they only have, button on the wall that you press. Is it going to be hot water? No, it's freezing as cold. And there was this moment where I pressed it, and then I'm, like putting one arm in, putting the other arm in, like, get it, like scrubbing it, the water, so it's like slightly soaking in. And I just went like, this is ridiculous, man. You're taking twice as long as you need to. And so I just, kind of plunged in, then took a couple of deep breaths and was like, oh, okay, it's actually not that cold. Yeah,
just get on with it.
And that could only have come from, doing cold showers when I was doing the Wim Hof breathing method and things like that. And I think it can feel like I'm never going to use this again. Like, this useless kind of capacity I've created, like it's just never going to come in handy. But I think it can. I think it can. Yeah.
I mean, that's probably one of the reasons, just as a sidetrack, that I'm starting to find, the wanting to do things like the Kokoda challenge again, or something else that's equally as challenging, or I guess as Goggin says, callousing the mind or the body of when it comes to those sort of times when it's like, oh, it's a little bit colder and you can't control the weather, or similarly when we were up in Cradle Mountain, it's alpine weather, so you don't really know what you're going to get, and it changes super quickly. So at one moment it's nice and sunny like this, and then 10 minutes later it's like snowing and hailing down, and then again it changes again. We got chased by a
wombat.
I won't say it's a magpie, because I don't think, no, it was a crow. We got chased by a crow, like, down the mountain, dude. Like,
nice.
Down, this dude was like, swear this thing was going to peck my eyeballs out. Again, hate birds. But, in all of this, I was like, not that I was thinking directly, oh, during the Kokoda challenge, it was much tougher, or, oh, you know, I've been in worse stuff in like coldness or whatever. No, there was none of that. But I think somewhere within me, in having done a lot of those things, or being okay with those things, makes it just slightly that much easier in day-to-day life. And so that's why it again cemented for me as well. Yes, I need to be doing more of these things, not in an extreme way. You know, I'm not going to be doing the Moab 240 folks, or I'm not going to be doing climbing Mount Everest 10 times in a row for fun. Like that's not what I'm going to do. But something where it's maybe for a good cause, but also, you know, it's challenging enough that it can be
intentionally
also,
get the car without the reverse camera.
Yeah, no, nothing like that. No, I'm telling you, dude.
Oh, you're putting that at the Moab level.
Yeah, that's beyond Moab level. That's like I could easily see how people actually kill their kids without a reverse camera. Like easily. I was like, man, that is wild.
My old neighbours ran over their kitten when it was very young.
Yeah, I've heard of the people like running over cats. But yeah, man, it's like night and day. I cannot believe how different it is night and day. Beyond that, I mean, just did lots of driving. Your favorite thing, got stuck in traffic for a ton of times. I mean, overall, if you count going up north, going back down, because I basically drove from the south of Tasmania all the way to the north, back to the south, went to some islands. I would have been in traffic. Well, roadworks. I would have been in roadworks for probably over 2 hours, probably over 180 kilometers, something like
each
that.
day sort of thing.
No. This is overall. Like if you sum it all up, I was in roadworks in totality of that.
Okay.
I think I would have driven probably like 120, 130 kilometers on average per day. So it's not huge.
That's not
so it's not huge, but it's also like I was happy to come back and not be driving as much. Let's just say that. So I was like, yeah, this is good.
For sure.
And thankfully, I was able to keep my stretching and handstand routine, not to the extreme degree, but I got them done. So I was happy about that. However, I didn't get any other training done, which is fine. So good sort of time off. I'm definitely feeling it this week. Being back, I'm like,
yeah, 9 days
everything's
off.
so
That's enough to
since being back, I've done 350 pull-ups, and my back is woefully underprepared for that. It's like destroyed right now. So sore. So, but anyways, that's been I guess the last week and a half for me, folks.
Nice, man. You know, I've been thinking about the attitude of companies and the kind of professional aura, and I don't know if you've seen Duolingo's Twitter.
Nope.
It's pretty funny, man. It's a you know, they've got a mix of, you know, did you know learning with a friend makes it 5.6 times more likely that you'll finish a course, sort of thing. So you know, obviously promoting their own sort of stuff, but they've also got random things up of this one here, for example. Hold up, is that my ... And then it's got a video of Katy Perry getting slimed. And, you know, now the joke in this is Duolingo is a green owl and she is just getting, like, blasted in the face with this green slime. And
that's quite good.
And then it's, you know, underneath it says, we're all thinking it, I just said it. And then some of these comments are like, my 9-year-old kid who's learning French on Duolingo asked me what this tweet means, sort of thing. And then other people then responding to that being like, why is your 9-year-old on Twitter, like, you idiot? Like,
yeah. That's probably the more prominent problem.
But I like that. I like that cheekiness in the...
Yeah, that's cool. Props to whoever's a Duolingo media manager there.
That's for sure.
Cool. Social media manager.
I like to see more of that. That it was a breath of fresh air to be like, oh, here's like a company which can have a little bit of fun.
That's why I like Mona. I think that's why I like Mona.
Yeah, exactly,
a lot of times, even the people who were working with
it
was like, I don't know, more human. It was just more human. It's how you actually expected. Maybe it was a little bit over the edge, but in a fun way, in a really like fun way. And I could get on board with more companies going down that path, being less in the structure of, oh, you know, we have to be really prim and proper, you know, financial services, government, tie, I've got to look like I play the part. Like, at the end of the day, underneath the, you know, whatever you're wearing or however you're portraying to be, you know, there's a human, there's someone who's like, you know, thinking through it. If you can deliver the same actions or the same advice or whatever it is that you're providing, fuck it, do it in a fun way. Cool. That's awesome. So,
yeah.
I mean, I actually got, in a similar way, I think my professional career, I've moved from never really being prim and proper, let's say. Never really being prim and proper. But still rocking up and making sure I'm wearing, you know, the right sort of outfit that you'd expect for someone working in consulting or working in different gigs. Of, you know, your button-up shirts and having your, you know, trousers, your nice pants, having your suit, everything ironed. Now, Still, do I own stuff? Yeah, of course. But more and more, I'm still, and more and more I'm seeing this happen where, you know, you can go into the office with your sneakers and you're going into the office with your short sleeve shirts and stuff like that. But it also kind of frees up the ability to be fun or to be more engaging as, you know, a human being. And I think it was Wednesday. Wednesday I was in the office and I was wearing a button-up shirt, but I just had the sleeves rolled up and some pants. But I had such an enjoyable day, and it was purely because all of my conversations were just not straight to the point. They were just not what you'd expect to be doing in an office. Like I was talking to a pretty senior officer in place that I work, and just being like, cool, how you been? Like, what's been going on? Talking about Tassie, talking about Mona, talking about stuff like that, without this, you know, pretentious way of like, oh, no, with a senior, or they got to do this, or similarly, like, oh, you shouldn't be talking about this. You should be like always being productive. Like, nah, bullshit. Like, there's certain networks and ways that you have to build up relationships, no matter what you're doing, that have to include fun, being human, getting to know people. Yes, eventually you have to do the stuff that you need to get done. Like the work that's got to get done. But doesn't mean you can't do those other things. So yeah, I do like seeing like stuff like that from like the Duolingo. That's cool. That makes me like them more as a company, I think.
Yeah,
so,
yeah. Now there are risks to this as well. I don't. Did I talk about my Karen experience on here? I don't think I did. So
you might have briefly. You mentioned it briefly.
Yeah. So anyway, long story short, there's a place called Karen's Diner here in Brisbane, which is it's actually a chain sort of thing. So it's in other locations as well. But it's basically created around the, you know, meme that was of a Karen, you know, the middle-aged lady who wants to see the manager sort of thing. Mm-hmm. And I brought this up randomly, and my dad was like, oh, when are we going? And it was definitely the type of thing he likes. And I was kind of like, this could either go great or it could go bad. Now, it went pretty bad. And the funny, they committed to it. And so, you know, very first thing was like, hey, we've got a reservation. She's like, oh, geez, who the fuck invited you stupid fuckwit, or something like this. And then it was like looking at dad, like, did you give birth to these two fuckwits? Like, just really hammering in.
I think when you said this in the podcast before, and I remember being like, and then you realize you were actually just in a normal restaurant.
Yeah, yes, exactly. Yeah. Okay, so yeah, long story short, they messed up our actual reservation, which was meant to be at a table, and put us on these, you know, super uncomfortable stool type things. There was this weirdness because my dad thought they were joking when they actually weren't joking, and so it actually turned out to be a not a suboptimal experience in that sense. And that's where it's like, okay, yeah, you can. There's risks to having this sort of attitude as well. Like if you want to be kind of playful and test the boundaries and whatnot.
This kind of makes me it has like similar.
I gave him a bad review.
It has similar levels to me.
I am a Karen.
It has. Did you actually give him a bad review?
Yeah, fuck yeah.
Fuck, goddamn, this dude. We've got a Karen here. We have a Karen here.
If you can't manage the simple booking system,
true.
Yeah,
it's good to get a review back for them so they are aware of that.
Yeah, exactly.
But it kind of gives me similar ties to joking lying, where, you know, you can do it and it can be funny. So like, you know, you can act like you're like a Karen and there is funniness to it, but there's a certain boundary, there's a certain way of acting that if you kind of take it beyond, or you're not managing it correctly, then it can go into the bad things. So hence why I called it a bad habit for myself personally. I went to, I guess, the equivalent of that many years ago in Texas, down south Texas, called Dick's. And I can't remember if that's the whole name of the restaurant, but there's a few of them in the US. And same thing. They were like, but for our instance, it was hilarious. It was really good. They got like, we sat down on a big old table. Like I had like my extended family. They got cones, like paper cones for everyone. And they would put like, dunce, idiot, like shittest one of the family. And when you finished your food, because it was served on like kind of like newspaper things, and when, you know, it'd be like, oh, where's the plates? And they'd be like, you don't deserve plates. But once you finish the food, you like scrunched it up and you just threw it on the ground. You just like threw it all over the place. And so when you walked in there, it was just filthy, littered. Like shit everywhere on the floor. But like, I think it was like once an hour or once every 2 hours to go around and clean it up and whatnot. But I loved it. I loved that. Like all of us really loved that. One of our family members, I think it was like my auntie or something, got into like a fight, like a play fight with one of them, because they were like, oh, you can't do this. And she was like, I'll fucking fight you over the table. Not swearing, but,
Yeah.
I'm adding to the flair here. And it was fun. Like, it was really good. So, like,
That's cool.
in that instance, I really enjoyed that. I don't know if I would enjoy, like, I enjoyed it there because the premise was being, like, rude, but fun. Where the Karen premise is, like, be rude, but in, like, a way that I don't enjoy. Like, the Karen rudeness is not as much. Like, this rudeness was playful. It was playful. It was maybe, like, jokingly lying sort of aspect. So I kind of like that a bit more.
Yeah, there definitely was a little bit of a sting to the Karen's one, for sure. And didn't encourage the back and forth nature, and this is why we're
could you not back and forth them?
You could, but I don't think that's the way that you will get the optimal experience. The optimal, I think it's more of like a sub-dom thing. They're the dominant one, so if you're going there, you need to be the sub, and you need to like the submissive, and so you need to take the abuse sort of thing, rather than it being like a banter back and forth.
See, I kind of feel like that's sort of the space where it'd be really enjoyable, at least in my mind, if it was like almost like stand-up comedy, where like they go and they like start like hammering on you, so you're like on the spot, got to make up something better. So they're saying like did you birth these kids or something like that, and being like, well, at least seems like we can have a family and like you, and like seems like you're alone or some shit like that. But
yeah, no,
like that doesn't allow for that sort of thing.
It wasn't that environment, no, for sure.
Okay,
yeah,
that's shit.
Yeah. Well,
okay. Stuff you, Karen.
Speaking of shit, man. So I've been investigating some NFTs.
Ooh.
So I've been
NFTs or NFTs?
Both.
Or the whole range. Yep.
The gamut. And I've I don't know what my thoughts are per se on this, but I'm taking them more seriously than I probably would have a year ago.
Can you give me more detail into that? What do you mean by that?
As an actual investment type deal, in terms of being like, okay, I think I'm starting to see some, like, I don't know what you'd call it. Infrastructure is probably not the right word, but the kind of mentality of some people within those communities, and it's like finding a community and being able to participate in it, and then also the kind of linking of some real world utility. So now look, most of them are still garbage, but it's now that we're in like a bear market, there's a lot. I feel it's a lot easier to see through what's the garbage and some things that are doing cool stuff. You know what? I wouldn't even say that. I'd say it's like the ability to identify serious people. So people who are actually invest, like trying to do things. They have a commitment. So sort of like we'd say to this podcast, if someone, you could maybe look at the podcast and go, oh, they're talking about Tasmania, and it's just like your random experience from it. How useful is that to me? Blah blah blah. Like you'd look at that and just go, oh, this is just two random guys talking, like two talking heads. What a useless podcast.
Yep.
But I would argue, okay, yeah, but look how many episodes we've done. Like, look at the website. Look at the amount of effort we've put into learning about RSS. I didn't used to know about RSS feeds when we first started. Now I can. Well, I still haven't created my own, but it's in the goals. And that's where it's like, okay, but I'm a serious person. I'm actually putting a lot of effort into this, and I think if we had like an NFT or something. Yeah, you know what? I think the Mere Mortals could be a good investment for someone as a like random one-off in terms of
okay. Well, I guess
investing your time in someone serious, and so that's what I sort of am meaning. Like, I'm starting to identify like, oh, there's people doing cool shit and who are serious about creating a project, and now whatever they're trying to do in that project can be completely different.
Gotcha. Okay. So because I guess my question, maybe I don't have the answer yet from you, is. You mean investment in the sense of like financial improvement, or are you talking
financial as well as my own kind of philosophy of like, these are some people who, playing long-term games with long-term people, that sort of mentality, that Naval Ravikant, I've met a lot of people in my life, and most of them, I can't even remember their names, can't even remember their faces. But there's some people who stick out, and then there's, some people like you who it's like, was I drawn to you when we were kids? Like, I certainly wasn't being like, Juan and I are going to create a podcast when I was 13 years old.
Yeah. Well, I guess the reason I was asking that question was, so like, say for me, I go, okay, well, example one is VFriends. So VFriends from Gary Vaynerchuk, I see that as one, financial investment, two, an investment in the community, three, investment in the networks that he's building, broad network. But then there's others like Impact Theory, where I have NFTs there, which are not, in my mind, going to be really financial investment. That's not a financial investment at all. But it's just purely more so the community and engagement that can then find in that area. So I guess that's why I was wondering whether it was purely financial, or you were also looking at community, also like network, or whether it might be like the underlying technology, which I haven't even gotten into all. Really,
I'm not smart enough for that.
Like, I think I'm seeing some players like VFriends are working on the space of the underlying technology and how it might play out, aka having a VCon ticket which is connected to an application and seeing how that might interact as a blockchain. But I'm not really investing into a project that comes out purely because it's completely on-chain. Like, there's an NFT called On-Chain Monkeys, and I looked into it for quite a bit.
It's got to be a fucking monkey.
They've been on it for a long time.
Okay,
Kevin Rose talked to the creator of that. They've got like 2 series of them. I was like really considering them, but they were one of like the very original projects to go on-chain, completely on-chain. But I'm not sure about that. Like, there's nothing there are real benefits to being on-chain as opposed to being procured by cloud services. Obviously, the cloud service, like, Bored Apes, you're calling a random cloud service. If that cloud service gets hacked, goes down, you no longer have an image. It could be swapped for a poo, like that. We've seen other things. When it's on-chain, you can't do that. Like, it doesn't change.
Correct, yeah.
But I don't see any interest in that, right? So I don't invest for that particular reason. So it's good to, I guess, whether it's yourself or anyone listening, if you're looking at getting into the space, there's a lot of reasons why you might. So it's good to understand yourself what it is that you're looking for.
Yeah, and also, investing in the terms of, will this thing be around in 20 years time? That sort of kind of mentality,
that sort of staying power.
Yeah, exactly. And it's kind of, and like the reason I said shit was because I joined the Hosky hidden. It's not a hidden chat, but it's kind of like, it's not easy to get to.
You gotta look for it. You gotta work a little bit.
Yeah, you gotta have like a little. You gotta ask someone. It's not something like you can just click on a link by being a lurker. It was and so the reason this happened was I got a shitty one. I got a shitty, which is like a random thing that comes up if you pull a 10-pack of Hoskies. And it's just like, so it's the Discord itself is called Sayo's Strawberry Soda. I believe is the actual. Let me bring this up in total. Sayo's Strawberry Farm, and the thing they have there is the Sayo Strawberry Sorter, which is a way to sort all your NFTs to put it into the different pools so you can get like max Hosky rewards.
Right. Okay.
So, someone who's actually created a bit of code and done something so that you can just like connect a wallet or an address, and it'll be like, here's what you should do, roughly. And it's just so funny seeing the dynamics of people taking stuff so serious. It's fucking Hosky, man. Yet there's like discussions after discussion of, when's the dev Vegas up? Because it looks like he's the one who's dropping them manually. And so they're like discussing like time zones. They're discussing, future plans. They're
intricate details.
Yeah, and it's one of those ones where I'm like, look, Hosky is so silly, it's so dumb, but I just see so much people's energy and consciousness like being drawn into this thing.
Which is like, it's a good thing in terms of the overall project, because like people that care, they want to spend the energy.
Exactly.
But I can see at the individual level being like, I wouldn't want to do that.
There was one guy, I'll call him out in particular. So I did my first my first trade of trading some Hoskies.
Oh yes.
So big DMAC A3C gang.
DMAC. So what did you swap?
So I traded 6 of my Hoskies for 6 of his, and an NFT. So 6 of the cash grabs. And it was one of those ones where I was like, oh, hey man, so do people use an escrow service for this? He's like, nah, usually it's just you do it based on trust. So
you send it to me, I'll send it to you.
Yeah, exactly. And he was like, look, you haven't done it before, so I'll send them to you first. And I was like, okay, well, cool. That less risky on my end.
And then you didn't send anything back to him. He was like, thank you very much.
yeah, fuck you. No, I sent him back some, but it was he was talking about, oh man, you got a shitty, like, congrats man, that was so lucky. I was like, fuck yeah, it was lucky. It was stupid lucky, because there's guys in that chat who have, they've got statistical charts of this is when, like, rough bell curve distribution of when, after this many thousand or this many hundreds, this is when statistically, like, and the next shitty will get dropped. I got mine on, like, the very, very outlier like, as far outlier as you can get was when I got my one.
Yeah.
And so, and he was like, yeah, I was pulling so much, and I just got frustrated and, like, decided
Just
not
stopped.
to. And I was like, that's a good idea, man, because it's not just me who's gotten, like, the Hosky kind of, like, little gambling.
Yeah, the virus is taking over. Yeah.
So, but in terms of, like, just other stuff, I don't know. I'm having fun diving into these sort of things, and just I don't know. I'm definitely consuming a lot of useless information, and I know names of tons of NFT projects which are 100% going to zero, or
just hot in the moment, but no going to be anything else.
Exactly. But I'm having fun doing it. It doesn't feel like I'm being, like, drawn into it and, like, can't escape, and pulling up my phone and unable to look away. It's like, no, this is just kind of, like, little fun stuff I'm looking at. So
that's good. Well, that's good. It's good that
I'm in a research phase that I'm enjoying. There's, like, research phases where you can get in and you're like, oh, like, fucking hell, like, I don't want to be here. Like, why am I doing this?
Yeah, or you can get into research phases where it's the opposite, where you're all like, oh, I've got to check this out. I've got to check this out. I've got to check this out.
Yeah,
where it's like, it's a nice modulated way.
The FOMO sort of, there's no FOMO going around, because, like, it's just it's the bear market. It's refreshing. I didn't think.
I'm enjoying it being so quiet.
Oh, it's really nice. It's really nice compared to a year and a half ago, where there was just. That feeling in the air, man. It's like you realize you're human after looking at those things and going, like, fuck, like, I'm just like everyone else.
Yeah, but honestly as well, I think there's some really cool opportunities if you're looking for them right now as well. That it is a bit of a bear market, and people are kind of going, "Woe is me, I bought at the high." But, like, take for instance, Tim's NFT. That's going to be coming out soon. And also, I'll send you some details anyway through email, but you won't be able to get it. So the only people who can get Tim's NFT are people who have been supporting him for years through his newsletter and stuff like that.
Okay.
So if you haven't, so I have. So I've supported Tim since, like, 2016.
Well,
or something.
like, monetarily supported?
Not monetarily, because he used to do that. There was a point in time where he did that and then he pulled it back. But he made it a deal that if you hadn't been following his newsletter since a certain time, you can't get onto the pre-list to be able to even get them. So
okay.
I don't know how many he's releasing. I don't know exactly what the details are. He came out with it yesterday, basically, to, like, the pre-mint allow list sort of thing. But you had to be like, you had to have enough ETH in your wallet. You had to be following him and another Twitter for a particular amount of time, and you had to subscribe to his newsletter for a particular amount of time. So,
and had you?
Yeah. So, like, I think I don't know how much the time was, but I've been subscribed to that newsletter for years, like years and years and years.
Gotcha.
So before we started podcasting, so
yeah, for
a long time. So I was like, oh, okay, cool. So I think a lot of people might be like, oh shit, like that one. There's a few others which I think it's like they're cool. They're really, really cool, and I'm looking at them not in the financial incentive, more so in the similarly with why I wanted to get proof at the first place, and I never ended up getting it, which was really annoyed. But that to me was like, oh, community, like really cool community. Now, obviously, if I'd gotten it, it would have been a tremendous benefit from a monetary perspective, but I still, like, miss the fact that I didn't get in from a community perspective. So, seeing those that are around right now, which maybe people will overlook, like I think a lot of people will overlook the Tim Ferriss one for sure. Not probably seeing there's going to be like a long-term thing or like a really nice society, like a community sort of space. I go, awesome, this is cool. Like I can move a little bit slower. I can get into those communities. I can participate. Not even for the financial perspective, just for what other benefits can come from NFTs and the like. So I was like, yep, cool. I'm looking forward to that. So
There you go.
yeah, so I'll have to keep you updated on how that one goes. I mean, I don't even know if I'm going to get an allowed list, right? Because it's probably going to be, who knows how many are going to be available, how many people actually put their names up forward or get selected to do it. So we'll see.
He said
we'll
lots of people would hate it as well, didn't he? Like he was saying it was...
Well, he said a lot of people would hate it because, one, I can't remember the wording, but basically a lot of the profits are going to a like psychedelic research that he's supporting. 2, there's no Discord, there's no roadmap, there's no nothing.
Yeah.
It's just going to be art. And he said there might be some surprises here and there, but there's nothing beyond that.
Gotcha.
Sort of thing. So it's just going to really be for the art. Yeah.
Yeah.
So, it's fun. It's fine. Like for me, I'm like, there's going to be a community driven around that anyways, and that would be a cool thing to participate. And if the art's that cool as well, awesome. It'd be good to participate in that space. So,
Art connoisseur over here.
Exactly.
Dang. Me too. Have you seen all my Huskies?
I know. Yeah, the shit is the mint of them all. So, goddamn. Yeah. Besides that, anything else you wanna talk about?
No. I think that'll. Oh, actually, let me just check my notes real quickly, in case I wrote something down. No. I think that'll do us good for today.
Good. Okay. We'll wrap up, folks. Again, we are podcasting 2.0 Value for Value enabled, which means if at any point through this time you've either been listening to something like Fountain and you've been streaming through a couple of Satoshis, that's always appreciated. A boostergram, have you been to Tasmania? Here's me sharing a little bit of details about the cold, and Mona made you want to go to Tasmania, or actually gone, you know what, that sounds completely not up my alley. There was a couple of reviews from Mona that I looked up afterwards, which was like 1 star.
Yeah.
They went no professionality. I couldn't understand what this thing was. There was kangaroo eating a man's asshole. I don't want to see this. Which there was. So I was like, okay, fair enough that you might not like this sort of stuff. Cool. So it is for a certain amount of people. But in any case, if you want to send us through a boostergram as well, that's always very, very much appreciated. It is the way that we seek your support as well for the podcast. We do this as a bit of value add for your life, for, at least to hear what we're going through, both the meanderings, musings, book reviews, and all that sort of stuff. So we ask for your value in return. Probably nice. Again, if you want to find out how you can do that, go and look up podcasting 2.0 enabled applications, Fountain, Breeze, Castomatic. There's lots out there.
Podverse.
Go check it out. Podverse. But for now, we're going to leave it there for meanderings, folks. Hope you enjoyed. One out.
Karen out. Boy.